my darlings. Today we are going to talk about breastfeeding. We're going to be talking about breastfeeding and pumping and different supplies that I have used in the past and will be using when I have my twins. This video could probably go on forever, so I wrote everything that I kind of wanted to say down on a piece of paper, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm referring to probably my notes or something. Excuse the weird setup. This is my room. I'm a little out of whack today because I needed a little more room because I kind of have all my stuff for this video here, and where I normally film in my kitchen, it's gonna be too kind of small of a space, so I just decided to film in here. And the lighting is a little weird, I know. But I'm just gonna go with the flow. So just before we start, I'm not a breastfeeding expert. I'm not a lactation consultant. I'm not a nurse. This is just all stuff I'm just gonna give from my own personal experience. I've breastfed 2 kids. I still have a lot to learn, obviously, because I'm gonna be breastfeeding twins, which is like a whole new experience in its own. And each baby breastfeeds completely differently from the other. No 2 breastfeeding experiences within your own kids are gonna go exactly the same. They're both probably gonna be a little different, and even my experience is gonna be different from somebody else's. First of all, breastfeeding. Breastfeeding in itself, it is hard, it is messy, and sometimes it sucks. I'm gonna be honest, sometimes it sucks to breastfeed. But the experience overall is absolutely wonderful. Not everything about breastfeeding is absolutely terrible, but sometimes it just can be a pain in the butt. Especially if it's your first time, you just get really frustrated really easily. But eventually you figure it out, and it's like a second nature to you eventually. So here are some tips that I have for breastfeeding that I have kind of collected. First tip is to relax and not to stress. This is one of the biggest tips you're gonna hear from everybody who is gonna give you advice about breastfeeding. The more you relax and the more you don't stress about it, the easier it will be for your body to produce. If you're really anxious and just stressing over it, it will kind of cause your supply to dry up, or even just feeding, your body just won't relax enough to release the milk that you need to for your baby. So you definitely just need to make breastfeeding relaxing, find ways to make it non-stressful. Everybody kind of has different ways that they can relax. It needs to be quiet for you, then let it be quiet, light a candle, or do essential oils, or if relaxing is watching TV or having a show on, just do whatever you need to get your body to relax. Tip number 2, drink lots and lots of water. The more water you drink, the easier it'll make just your life in general. You should be drinking a lot of water because you just had a baby, but also it is going to also help with your supply. So drink lots of water. And also there are different breastfeeding teas that you can drink as well, that sometimes I've heard have helped with your supply. I have one from a sampler, but I never used it. I think I'm gonna try it this time with the twins. My next tip is to get comfortable. That tip kind of goes with the whole relaxing and don't stress, but it's kind of a tip on its own, especially when you're breastfeeding in bed. I'm gonna be breastfeeding in bed at night, and I did that with my other 2 kids, and sometimes it's harder to get comfortable in bed, I found, for me, than it is to get comfortable on the couch. But if you're not comfortable the second you sit, and you're like, ugh, but I'm already situated, it's just gonna get worse. You're just gonna get more uncomfortable, and it's just gonna go downhill from there. So make sure you're comfortable right off the bat. Don't start until you are comfortable, because you're just gonna get more and more uncomfortable, and it's just gonna make the whole process just not fun. So just do what you have to make yourself comfortable. Nighttime breastfeeding is really hard for me. I'm a person that needs to sleep 12 hours every day. But when you're breastfeeding, you're up constantly, and it's not that I hate waking, well, I mean, I hate waking up. If I'm tired, like, I will doze while breastfeeding. And one of the things I found that helps is to watch a movie on like my phone, or to have my laptop out and watch Netflix with headphones, so that I'm not waking Cody up. If at night you find yourself dozing, like, that is a good way to kind of stay awake, is with a movie or your phone or something to kind of keep you entertained. Next tip is to stay healthy. What I'm very guilty of doing once I have my babies and I get really busy, I don't eat. And it's not that I'm avoiding food because I don't want to gain weight or something like that. It's just I forget to eat. I just get so caught up and I get busy taking care of the babies. Before I know it, I'm like, oh my god, it's 3 o'clock and I haven't eaten since breakfast at 8 a.m. Again, with the drinking water, that'll keep you healthy. Vitamins, keep taking vitamins after you have your babies. Drink teas. They'll sometimes kind of keep your supply going and keep you well if you're sick. Just whatever you need to do to stay healthy, that will definitely help with the breastfeeding. You breastfeed when you're sick, you can't really stop. But it's another thing that kind of makes it miserable. But if you just kind of try and keep yourself as healthy as possible, it'll make everything easier. Next tip is if you get engorged. This tip can help you before you have your babies and after. With my first son, the week before he was born, I was super engorged. I was everything was rock hard and it hurt so bad. What I would do is I would lay in a warm bath and kind of just soak. So that really helped. That can help you before your baby and after. If you're super engorged and if for some reason they're not eating, and you're just kind of sore in general, you can take a warm bath and it'll help relax the muscles. If you don't like to bathe, I know some people don't like the concept of baths, standing in a warm shower and then just putting washcloths over you so that you have kind of the heat sitting on your chest, that will help as well. And the most important thing that I could probably say to you guys is if it doesn't work out, do not kick yourself. Do not get mad at yourself if you don't end up breastfeeding for as long as you wanted, or if it doesn't even work out from the beginning. For some people it works out and for some people it doesn't, and if you have to switch to formula, that is okay. You'll be okay. Your baby will be okay. Don't worry about it. Just make sure that your baby is getting nourished properly, whether it is breastfeeding or formula. Whatever you need to do to keep your baby healthy, that's your job is for you. Don't let other people tell you what to do. Don't let other people make you feel bad if you didn't breastfeed as long as you wanted or as long as they might be breastfeeding. Just let it go. Just don't worry about it and you do you. With both of my kids, I had planned to breastfeed for a full year. With Colt, I started off in the hospital breastfeeding. It was really difficult to get him to latch. He wasn't wanting to latch, and it was just really hard. It was my first time breastfeeding. I had no idea what I was doing. You can watch so many videos, you can be told so many times, you can read all the pamphlets, but you won't know what breastfeeding is like until you actually breastfeed. One thing I didn't know, I don't know why I didn't know this, or it didn't occur to me, but breastfeeding stimulates your uterus to contract and kind of snap back into place a little faster. And so when I was in the hospital and with Colt, just breastfeeding felt terrible. I was cramping, and it was so terrible, and part of me wanted to quit in the hospital on in my first couple of days of breastfeeding Colt, because it was just so painful, feeling my uterus contracting back into place. The nurses were it'll go away eventually. This isn't how it's gonna feel all the time. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, okay, this isn't gonna last forever. it's gonna suck, but eventually it'll go away. And it went away, that like feeling went away after like a couple of days, the really bad cramps. I still kind of cramped when I was breastfeeding once I like got home and like the next couple weeks, but it wasn't nearly as bad as when I was first breastfeeding, and so it was definitely a lot bearable when I was at home. It was like very slight, and so I was able to keep going. With Colt, I had no idea what I was doing. But luckily, like, they had lactation nurses come in and help, and I was so grateful. I got so many tips from the nurses. They were wonderful, but he was having a little bit of trouble like latching and staying on, and I ended up having to use a nipple shield kind of for a little bit in the hospital for him to latch. But eventually he did get it, and I breastfed for 6 months. I wanted to breastfeed for a year, but my schedule was kind of, my schedules for both jobs weren't very structured. Like, it's like, oh, I could work this day one week, and then this day the next week. I could work a couple days, or I could work one day, and it was just all over the place. And when I was working, one of the jobs I was working at the time was at a yogurt place, and I asked if I could pump while working, and they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Like, they had no problem with me pumping, but I was opening a lot, and so I would be the only one there, so I couldn't pump. And then like a customer come in, and I would have to pump in the back, and it was just gonna be too much, and like for me to have to pump and then go help somebody or start pumping, and maybe like not be able to get back to pumping for like an hour, and it was too hard. It was too crazy. I've had to stop because my schedule just wasn't allowing me to pump like I wanted to. And with Lennon, I ended up getting really bad postpartum anxiety. I have a whole video about my experience with that, and I'll link it below if you're curious as to kind of what I was struggling with. But I struggled with postpartum anxiety, and that dried up my supply and kind of kept me from wanting to kind of breastfeed. It was just like a whole mess that I have a video on if you want to watch it. But I stopped breastfeeding her after 3 months, and I was really upset about that. Some supplies that I used. With Colt, I had very cracked and bleeding nipples just kind of from the start. Two of the things that I got recommended to me from the nurses in the hospital. I'll try and link as many of these products as I'm going to describe below. First thing that a nurse recommended to me was called the Lancino Soothies, and they're these gel pads probably about that big. I don't have them. I'm gonna buy them for when I have my twins, but I just haven't had a chance to go to the store and buy them yet. They're like this gel material on one side and kind of fabricy on the other side, and they come with little trays, and you just stick them in the fridge or the freeze. It's the fridge or the freezer. I stuck mine in the fridge. So you stick them in the fridge, and then once you're kind of done breastfeeding, you just put them over your nipples if you're cracking and bleeding, and if you're sore, and just the coldness just soothes them. And I like swear by them. They are so amazing. There's something I'm gonna buy again and that I really loved. And then another thing from Lancino that I really liked is the lanolin cream. This I still have from Lennon. Just use a little pea-sized amount and put it around your nipples. Completely natural and hypoallergenic, so you don't need to like wipe it off when you're gonna breastfeed again next. So those two things from Lancino I love and definitely recommend to get if you're planning on breastfeeding. And then also feeding pillows. I could have swore I still had my Boppy laying around. It's just like a breastfeeding pillow that wraps around your stomach. I'm sure plenty of people have seen it in stores or online, but it's really popular. A lot of people use it. I used it. I got one with Colt, and I kept it around and used it with Lennon, and I could have swore I still had it. I could have swore we kept it in the move, but I can't find it anywhere. I was planning on using it with this next pregnancy. Boppy is great. I definitely recommend it if you're having one baby. Really liked how you could kind of shape it to fit you kind of however. You could use it kind of in any kind of seating, whether you're kind of in a narrow chair, or if you were in a narrow rocking chair, or if you were in a couch. Like, I liked how you could kind of shape it. I definitely recommend that pillow if you're just having one baby. If you're curious about the Boppy, I loved it. Used it with both my kids. But for twins, I'm gonna try and tandem nurse my twins. I don't know if it's gonna work out, but the goal is to tandem nurse. So what I put on my registry was the My Breast Friend Twins Plus Nursing Pillow. So I put it on my registry, and my sister got it for me after my baby shower. Just got it in earlier this week. I took it out of the box, but I haven't taken it out of the bag or anything, and I haven't messed around with it. This is the first time I'm gonna be kind of playing around with it. It is so big, like you can't even, this is it. This thing is massive. There are a few other breastfeeding pillows for twins out there. Boppy doesn't have one. I looked. There's another brand that has one that kind of looks like a Boppy, but I didn't think it was gonna work out the best for me. I'm gonna open it right now. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see me doing any of this. This is the pillow. Here's where it straps and comes apart. This part right here goes against your back, and then this part right here goes around, and it does have adjustments to make it bigger. It is like not all the way tight, but it's pretty much, it's almost there. Oh, but it has really nice back support. Like, I think I'm just gonna sit in this now, like until the babies come here. This back support is amazing, which is definitely something the Boppy doesn't have, because the Boppy just has kind of like this front thing without a back support, so I'd have to use pillows to support my back. But this kind of comes with its own back support, which I think you can take off if you don't want it, or if you don't need as much support. And it also has a little pocket right here, so you can kind of preset your phone in there, or like a remote or a snack or something. It's really soft. I like the cover. It comes in like it also comes in a green color, but I hated that shade of green. I mean, I know it doesn't matter what color it is, because babies are just gonna breastfeed on it, but like the color to me was so atrocious, like I couldn't stand looking at it. It was like this light green color. I know my hair is green, but I mean, it was just, I didn't like it. I wanted the gray, and so my sister ordered me the gray. The Twins Plus, I know you can find My Breast Friend in Target sometimes. They have the pillows there. I didn't see them at Bye Bye Baby, but they usually have like the one for single babies, so a smaller one. The Twins Plus, I think you have to order it just straight from online. I don't know if you can find it in a store. I haven't been able to find it in a store in like where I live, so I don't know if that's different for other people, but you mostly have to buy it online. Another reason why I liked this pillow is because if I'm gonna tandem feed two babies, I don't want them rolling off. So right here you can see it has a lip. Not that I'm gonna like completely let go and just be like, hey, go for it, but I mean, like, it'll kind of keep them propped kind of closer to me. That's gonna be my new friend for now, and I really like it. It's really soft, really comfortable and squishy. I like the back support, so I'm really glad I went with that pillow, and it's a lot nicer. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be, but I think it's gonna work great for us. So I'm gonna stop here, and in my next video I'm gonna talk about pumping, storing milk, and I will go over my breast pump. Part 2 of this video will be up next week, because I just have a lot. There's gonna be a lot to this video, and I thought I was gonna have more time to film, but I kind of have a bunch of stuff to do that kind of came up all of a sudden, so I think I'm gonna stop here for now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks guys. Bye. Oh, somebody's here.